Why is Trump doing it then, in your view? Because he's given lots of reasons. He said that they're ripping us off. He says lots of countries have been ripping off the United States. How do you unpack what he's saying there? And what do you believe the true reason is underneath there?
To his credit, Trump has been very consistent on this for literally 40 years. You can go on YouTube. He gave an interview in, I think it was 1986. He went on Oprah in 1986 talking about how free trade wasn't free and that Japan and other countries were ripping us off and that the solution to it were tariffs. So this is not a new view. This has been a lifelong quest that he's had. I would say not necessarily Trump's views, but I would say it absolutely makes sense that there is a large chunk of America that looks back to the period of 1950s, 1960s, when we were a manufacturing powerhouse and says, that was better than what we have now, and we should go back to that. I get why people would say that, because it's true that we've lost a lot of manufacturing jobs in the last 50 years. I think manufacturing jobs peaked in the late 1970s, and we've lost something like 10 million manufacturing jobs that we had, versus what we had back then. And I get why, if I was in that situation, I would probably feel the same. Where I would push back is the situation that we had in the 1950s and 1960s, where it was just America manufacturing powerhouse, were a very unique period that I think is virtually impossible to bring back. And I'll tell you why. At the end of World War II, 1945, Europe and Japan were in rubble. They were decimated from the war. America was not decimated whatsoever. And so we had basically a global manufacturing monopoly for a period of time. China was not in the equation. South Korea was not in the equation. India, Bangladesh, they were not in the equation. It was basically Japan, the United States, and Europe, two of which were just struggling to feed their citizens. And once they got that under control, it was like we have to rebuild the damage from the war. So America had about 20 years from 1945 to the mid-1960s of we have a manufacturing monopoly. And then we had 16 million US soldiers come home from the war. And there was so much pent-up demand for them to buy homes and washing machines and cars and radios and all these things. And all of them were built in America because nobody else could build them. And that created a really special time when, because we had a manufacturing monopoly, it was just like factories everywhere. We built up so many factories during the war. There was endless demand for those products. And this is an important part too. White-collar workers during that period didn't make that much money relative to what they did before or since. And that was important because the wages that the blue-collar manufacturing workers were earning felt great by comparison. So if you were an auto worker in Detroit and you compared your wage in 1955 to the local accountant or dentist or doctor, by comparison, relative to today, you're like, oh, it's pretty good. Yeah, the doctor makes more than me, but not that much more than me. I drive a Chevy, he drives a Cadillac. His is a little bit nicer, but we're living mostly the same lives. And so I think that was a lot of the feeling of prosperity in the 50s and 60s, was this very unique period of manufacturing monopoly as Europe and Japan were rebuilding. And by comparison to other workers, it felt amazing. And then at about the 1970s, Japan and Europe had gotten themselves back together from the ravages of World War II, and they became manufacturing dynamos in their own right. And I don't think we really understood this in America until three companies came in, which were Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. And they started selling cars in America. And at first, it was very easy to be like, look at these little lawnmower toys that they're importing. Because you compared an early Honda Civic to a Chevy Camaro in the 70s. And it was like, you can't even compare them. So at first, the reaction of American car companies were like, these guys are a joke. No one's going to buy these little cars. But then gas prices surged in the 70s and 80s. And all of a sudden, the cars that Americans wanted was the tiny little Honda Civic that got really good gas mileage. And then once they started buying them, they're like, hey, this Toyota, this Honda, this Nissan, it's actually a pretty good car. It's actually pretty well built. And I think there was a lot of denial among American manufacturers that these other nations that didn't exist for 20 years in terms of a global manufacturing source were actually pretty damn good at it now. And then one other thing happened to wrap this up, and this might be the most important part of it. The reason that you cannot reasonably expect the manufacturing powerhouse to come back as it was is, yes, we did ship jobs to China and Mexico and Canada and India that used to be in America. And that has contributed to the massive decline in manufacturing employment. But a bigger factor in there is automation. And if you look at I would challenge people to do this. Go on YouTube and look at a Tesla assembly line in the United States.
I'll put it on the screen.
It is what you will see. It's amazing. It is a miracle of engineering. What you will see are armies and armies of robots and very few people. And if you compare that to the 1950s assembly line, what you see are biceps and backs and people hauling around material. So because we got so good at automation, even if we bring manufacturing back to America, and that we still do a lot of manufacturing in America, it doesn't require the amount of employment that it used to. It doesn't require the amount of manpower. And the people who do work on Tesla manufacturing lines, by and large, are working on computers overseeing the robots. I mean, here's one stat that I thought was always interesting to me. In 1950, there was a US steel plant in Gary, Indiana. It produced 5 million tons of steel and had 30,000 workers. Today, it's still operating. It produces 8 million tons of steel and has 2,000 workers. So it's producing more steel today than it was in the 1950s. And they went from 30,000 workers to 2,000. Because what used to be done with biceps and backs and shoulders is now done with machines and robots. And it's no different than what happened in agriculture, where a farm 200 years ago was rakes and shovels, and today it's tractors and combines. Like that same thing happened to assembly. So to wrap all that up, like I understand and I empathize with people who say we need to bring back manufacturing to America. We lost what we once had. I get that and I respect it. But I think the unique circumstances and automation makes it just extremely unlikely to ever happen.
How did China